Well, welcome everyone to our first Mighty Meetup of 2026. I'm super excited to kick this off with a bang. We've got awesome new features coming this year, like I teased last year. And we also have a really fun community spotlight with Heather, and she's going to walk through a pretty fun course that I think is going to blow a lot of you guys' mind on what she's doing in there. She was challenged to make Rise a little bit more dynamic of a learning experience. And so she's going to walk through some really cool stuff that she's been doing in order for that to happen. So I'm not going to spend too much time in intros. I just want to dive right into the meat and potatoes of new features, which is global styles. So for all of you who have been a part of our early access group that we've got in the Maestro/Mighty community, we introduced global styles. I think that was about a week and a half ago, potentially. Time flies when you're having fun, but I think it was about a week ago. And got a lot of great feedback there from all of you all using that. And now I'm released it this morning. So it's officially live for anyone who hadn't got to play with that yet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through those features and then we'll roll on to the next part where we'll have Heather kind of walk through some fun stuff that she's working on. And then we'll also get into Q&A and high-level demo. So that's kind of our process that we typically go through here. For anyone who's not able to attend this, we will have this up on YouTube videos. If you've got other colleagues and stuff, no problem. We will record this and get that out. So John Pinkster, one of the lead engineers over here at Maestro, who has built up Mighty, kind of came in as a Chrome extension for our internal team to really supercharge your Rise courses. That then from there, people started hearing about what we were doing and decided to productize it. And here we are a couple years later. And it's been an awesome journey for all those who've been a part of that with us. Super excited to see we've got new faces joining here to learn more. So just sit back. I'll walk through some of the new feature that just came out, and then I'll really kind of go through a bigger, higher level demo as we get into to that side of things. So let's dive into global styles. And I just kind of want to walk through a little bit of a problem that all of us have always dealt with Rise. And that when it comes to consistency for your typography or even colors, when you start up a brand new course, it is always a pain to kind of get started. And honestly, a lot of us in organizations have created Rise templates in order to really help circumvent these issues. So between templates and between block templates that exist, you're able to start to kind of get a look and feel of what your organization styles look like. So that's anything from your fonts that you use, font sizes, line heights, letter spacing, etc. And so what you would often do is you would get into your course, and you're just kind of like a very cleaned up, polished demo course that we've got here. But what you would do is you would just go through and say like, okay, well, I need to change all of my line height to be consistent. So I'm going to go through and instead of it being like the 1.98 blah, 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 that Rise has by default for a handful of blocks, but not even every block, you'd go through and you would adjust it to be like 1.6. And so you'd like really start to get line heights, letter spacing, your font size is adjusted. It's like maybe you as an organization want a little bit of a larger font size. So like being able to adjust those, but you do those one at a time and it's super time consuming. So what we have done is released out a global styles power up. So if you saw how I got there, just go to the power ups menu and in global styles, you're now going to see this new section for you to really build out this palette. And so there's two sides to this. There's not only your color, which we're all familiar with being able to choose our accent color, but then there's the whole typography side of things. So real quick, I'll talk about color just because that is cool. Type styles will spend a lot more time in that one. But so for your colors, like this is your ability now for you to finally create your own Rise color palettes. Like let's say I wanted to create different surface colors. So I can go through and do like a little bit of a lighter gray and then a darker gray. And then maybe I've got like a accent color that I want to use that's beyond my theme color. So you'd be able to like set up all of your different colors. And then what's cool about this is now while you're in your authoring, you can just go through and anytime you're choosing a color, either background color, text color, you just switch over to the styles palette. And then here is all of those colors readily available for you, which is super fun. The other cool side of this is like I can apply my accent color. And then let's say I find out like, okay, well, actually the accent color needs to be a little bit lighter or darker based on accessibility. But oh crap, I've used this across like 7 different lessons and across 200 different blocks. And now you're telling me I got to go and change every single color everywhere? Well, no, you don't. Because with global styles, you're going to notice this theme really applies everywhere. Is that we use the power of your web browser and it uses this thing under the hood called CSS variables or CSS classes. So I can actually change this. I'm going to be really crazy and they don't want magenta, they want green. And so we'll just change it to green and boom, immediately anywhere that I've used that color is immediately updated for me. So now you can just like go through, create your color palette, make it look and feel how you want to look. And then if someone comes to you after the fact and says, hey, actually, we need to adjust some color schemes, no problem. Super easy to do. Now take that same idea and apply it to your typography. So, again, you've gone through and you said, I want all these things to be a font size of 18 versus 17. And I want to create consistencies across blocks because as an example, this all blocks tab that we've got here is kind of like a preview of what every block looks like in Rise, hence the all blocks. And so this is what every block would look like without any sort of stylistic changes. So as you can see, like the inconsistencies that are created that we're all very familiar with as you go from like block to block between different line heights or different font sizes, like they're just kind of really all over the place. And so we would always create block templates to solve this. But now you can just really drop in our starter styles, which I'll talk about what that does in a second. Or you can manually create your styles and do all the mappings, but this is super easy to do. And you may have noticed a little bit of a flash here, but once I created these starter type styles, what we're doing is creating you a whole series of these 8 different types that then you can either directly map to blocks or you can start to use throughout your authoring experience. If you import our starter styles, you just get that all for free, which is great. Maestro's done all of the work to literally map out every single block. That makes sense to map. They're like flashcard blocks that are kind of funky that we just ignore some of those. But like for the most part, all of the blocks now are updated to look based on our type styles. And so what's really fun is like, let's say you as an organization don't want your body fonts to be 18. You want those to be more like 17. You just adjust those and you can see live all of my example blocks are adjusting for me. So you can just make those adjustments and then things will just change for you automatically. Now, I will say this comes with a little bit of like some gotchas, especially if you are going to want to adopt this for an existing Rise course. And that is, let's say I've got, and we've got actually a little shortcut here. So I've got my body font set up. It's the same B Vietnam font that I've got for my course. Font size 17. The line height is actually default. It's not set to anything special. You can also update font weights, which is cool, especially for like heading fonts. And right now, Rise forces those to be a heavy weight. You can now finally make those a lighter, thin weight if you wanted to. So we've got all these settings set up, but I've already applied some overrides that have occurred inside of parts of my lessons. Like as an example here, I had manually set this up to be 18. And so you'll notice that's not my 17 body font. So there is a couple of things that you might run into when you're utilizing an existing course that you may not see those changes happen. So again, if I make some adjustments here, some things are going to adjust, some things aren't. Like as an example, this font size doesn't adjust here. The easy fix for this is you just go through and just start to remove out the customizations that you had made and now let me go back to make the center aligned. And then from there, now it's consistent with everything else. So as we make adjustments, it's also going to get its adjustments of line or the font size here at this point. So you can totally see the power of this, being able to just really set up what your typography looks like inside of your courses. And then what's really great is not only once you've set this up, it is able to just be applied to all of your content here, is that now you can also share these amongst your team. So being able to take your global styles, export out a file, which is like a little JSON file that just keeps track of all of your type styles slash global styles that you've built. And then from there, you can import those into any other course. We will probably build some sort of like internal Mighty repository, so you don't have to try to figure out a way to keep track of all these things between these global style settings, custom code snippets, and then interactive HTML blocks. There's plans to build you a nice like safe haven for all those to live. For now, just keep track of them, how you've been keeping track of them. But what's great is I could go into a brand new course. So let's pretend that I don't have any type styles here. I'm going to blow these all away. We get back into my course, kind of everything reset back to the way it was. You'll notice that this color does stay consistent because, again, the power of CSS variables is it does have a fallback. But we will now go ahead and import. So if we go back into our global styles, I can hit import and we can choose to import this from right here. You import the file, and now you can see there's all my type styles back. Here's my color palette back, and we're good to go. So as you guys are building up new courses, being able to really take advantage of a team member kind of leading the way, building up what all of your global styles should look like for consistency in your course, and then share that amongst your team so that way you guys could leverage that for all future course development. So super fun. As you guys are working inside of your course, so I'd kind of shown more about the global styles tab in itself and being able to see a preview here. And you can either go between all blocks or your course preview and make modifications. But also, I briefly brought up this quick access panel. So two ways to access that. You can either go into the RTE, just select text, the RTE shows up. Over in type styles, you can go to the bottom and then there's a shortcut. So on Mac, it's the Command Shift Option T, and then that will open up this side panel for you to then be able to fine tune all of your settings while you're here actually authoring your course. So super, super convenient for you to be able to do that. And also, if you have, like, let's say a section right here where this is my heading font, but I actually maybe arguably should have used my paragraph font. And instead of just switching to the paragraph font, I'm going to be a little bit lazy. And I'm just going to use my type styles and then apply the body font to it. And so you'll see automatically it just goes and applies the body font. Now, it didn't apply any sort of better line height because my body font doesn't define line height. So now you have full control of that still. So being able to go in here, change this back to 1.6, you could certainly do that. I'm not really sure exactly why that didn't change, but probably some sort of setting somewhere. I'll have to chase that down somewhere else. Not sure. Let me clear this out. There we go. Try that again. And then set the line height to 1.6. Fingers crossed. Oh, that didn't do anything. All right, well, noted as a bug. We'll fix that. But that's theoretically how that would work. Now, what's also cool is in global styles, being able to create like not overarching changes like that, but you could also create like fun little highlight changes. So let's say again we'll use B Vietnam. We're gonna change this to more like a 14 font size. We're gonna set the back or the color itself to a little bit of like a grayish color, and then give the background a little bit of like a lighter gray. So it's kind of got this like highlight look to it. So there's my new type style that we've got. We'll just call this, I don't know, highlight. So we can name that. We can go back into our course. And then when you've got parts of your text that you want to highlight, you just highlight that with the rich text editor. And then we can choose our highlight type style. And there you can see it's got that, maybe hard to see, but there it is, blending right in there with our background color. Let me go into, here's more on a white background, being able to add that highlight style. So you can see not only does this work for just overarching changes to an entire block section, but also being able to take those type styles and kind of create like little accent variations of things and then being able to apply those everywhere throughout your course, and being consistent. Because again, we could just go back to this shortcut panel and I could decide like, okay, actually, these colors don't fit well in my course anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my highlight color. This needs to be a little bit darker. So let's go right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my text darker, or maybe even make my text like a magenta color. My fellow Maestro designers are probably looking at me like, "Oh God, this is why he's not a designer. This is why he's a developer." But you get the point of like I can now just like on the fly change all of these things. And any moment where I've implemented this type style, it's going to automatically adjust for me, which is super, super fun. The last thing that I'll say is that if you're also utilizing Mighty's interactive HTML blocks, all of your type styles, as well as colors, as well as just fonts in general, are 100% available inside of your interactives as well. And we've got some fun things coming down the pipe here soon to show off exactly what that looks like. But if you ever want to take advantage of these either colors or these type styles and being able to, again, leverage the power of what we're doing under the hood, you're able to just go right into your type styles area, click on the triple dot, and then hit copy style class. And then what that's going to do, and I'm just going to go ahead and paste that here, is this tells you what CSS class. So for anyone who's like a developer, or if you just want to tell this to your AI code companion, these are the CSS classes that then you could actually just reference inside of your interactive HTML, and those would just become available. So you've got access to this class that would have all of your type settings that would apply to it. And then same idea goes with your color styles. You would be able to go in here and you'd say copy CSS variable, and then you would be able to go into your content and see what that looks like. So again, right here, this is that CSS variable. Shouldn't really mean anything to anyone who's not a nerd like me, but if you are, you could do something like this, and we'll see if this actually works. Run that, and there you go. There's that color style being applied to my interactive HTML block. And again, I could go in and I could adjust that color. I'm going to try to do this on the fly. We'll see. This should work. Let me change that to like a reddish color. There we go. We'll go back into that interactive. Drum roll, please. There it is. There's that color change. So, like, not only do you have full range to completely overhaul your Rise lessons, but any interactives that you've been making, you 100% have access to all those as well. So, uh, happy authoring. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with that, and we'll create a lot of content for you guys to really start to chew on how you can take advantage of global styles throughout your whole course.
Pinkster, you did have a couple of questions come in just about what you were talking about last, if this is a good time to answer those. One was specifically, how are you getting to the shortcut panel?
Yes. So the little bit more manual way is anytime you open up the rich text editor, now that you've got type styles created, there's this new option that shows up. And what you could do is scroll to the bottom of this, and that is the edit styles option. You'll also see here that there is a shortcut that you can click. So on Windows, I it's probably Control Option Shift T. Maybe someone help me out if you're a Windows user and have been using uh, global styles. But on a Mac, it is Command Option Shift T. I just think the control is like an interchangeable thing between the two. So as soon as you touch that in your keyboard, when you're in a course with global styles on or not, it's going to bring up this panel. So if you don't even have global styles yet, you should see this panel show up uh, if you're typing in those keys.
There was one more question that came in from Amelia, specifically wondering, is there a custom JavaScript that they need to expose all the HTML when you select a line of copy and click code editor? They've been having issues with injecting styles for the anchor tags, and they're
Mm.
not seeing everything that your editor is showing.
So it should be, Amelia would love to chat more about that. So like as an example here, Yeah, I just open up the rich text editor. We've got this code editor view. So yeah, you should be able to see full access to this. Now, something that I will say is just like a heads up is one, sometimes there are block types. And let me think about an example here. Yeah, even like with our reflection block, that the text kind of can be all separated from each other. So you might not see other text within there. So if you've got like the bulleted or like the bullets block, like a list block as an example, it won't show all of the bullets text. It'll just show each text line individually. And then from there, you should be able to see all of the HTML markup that makes up the text. It's like this one, as an example, is wild. There's lots of styles being applied. Um, Now, from there, if you're also running into issues where you're adding styles and then you close the panel and then you reopen it and it's gone, that is the joys of some sanitization that happens with the rich text editor. And would love to chat more about some options and what you're trying to do there. So feel free to hit me up in the community. Would love to either jump on a call or just kind of chat through that in a post.
One more about this one, Pinkster. Maybe you comment though. Mark asked, is there a way to change the style of the course title? They tried with CSS, but they weren't having any luck.
Yes, that is a great reminder that some of our global styles, or I guess our global styles was kind of narrowly focused more on the blocks and less on all of the little trinkets that happen in Rise, like the title and the begin buttons and the whole menu bar and whatnot. There are ways to modify those in the Maestro community. So for anyone who's not in the community, certainly join that. Most of you probably are because that's how you got the event. So if you're in the community and you go to the code catalog, I believe there are some snippets in here that people have talked about where they've updated all sorts of various things, like the course headers, like the menus and the way that those look. So feel free to peruse through here. Again, if you don't see anything, like that's where the mighty user space, and I know a lot of you, I see some names and faces in here, can attest to this. Like you drop in a thought or an idea, and days later we release some new feature, we give you examples, or someone jumps in the community that gives you examples on exactly how to do what you're doing. So feel free to post in there some questions. But yeah, the way you would take advantage of this, let me go back to the course I was in, is within our power up section, the custom code, creating a snippet. And then in here is where you would need to go through and like create some CSS, which you may be saying like, I'm not a developer, please don't ask me to make CSS. It's like, yeah, so no problem. There are lots of tricks that you can take where you can take this HTML and then send that to whatever AI agent that you have. So if you use like Claude or ChatGPT, you can just literally right click, inspect, and then grab some HTML, like literally just kind of grab anything, just edit, copy it, paste it, and then go to Claude and just say, hey, here's what my title was, and I want it to look like X, Y, and Z. And it is amazing how accurate those tools have been to be able to just give you, here's a little CSS snippet. Just add that into Mighty and you'll be good to go. And then it just gives you all that. So I know that we have talked about plans, and if Sydney was here, she'd be pushing us again. Plans to really encourage and talk more about the coding side of things and like how to just do what I did and work with AI to kind of get some of these hurdles that you've got accomplished without needing someone else to solve those and being able to really uh, take your thoughts and ideas, work with it, Claude or ChatGPT, and make it a reality. And so I would imagine Nate and I are both here. We're the ones to run this. That we'll be pressured more and more to continue to offer offerings like that this year. So um, I will say soon to come, something that will be in the works for us to give you more coding knowledge to be able to take these courses significantly further.
Thank you, Pinkster. And thank you, everyone, too. We had some Maestro team members and some other community members also answering others in the chat. So that's good, at least for what you're talking about for now. I appreciate it.
Nice. I'm gonna pivot before I take up all of Heather's time. We're gonna have Heather jump on now and talk about her project that she's been working on. Maggie, I think you've got controls here. Can you make sure that you spotlight Heather? She's going to do a really fun screen share. So instead of screen sharing, she's got a cool mechanism to be able to basically take over her video and do presentations in a little elevated way. So,
All right, you might be the official host, Heather, so you might have to just switch it back to me after. I know
No
where to find
problem.
you.
Okay.
Let me know if you have the permissions you need.
I think I might. Let me see. Okay, can everybody see me?
yep.
Am I a
I
giant
can.
head now? Awesome. All right. Well, hello everyone. Thank you so much. I have to tell you, my funny story is that I have been so excited about this Mighty project, and I have three teenage girls in my house who I like, look what I did, look what I did, and none of them care. So I've been looking forward to this meeting so much to be able to share this project that we have been working on. So I am on a team that has been working on some of the off of the shelf courses from Maestro. And one of the vendors approached us and said, people are starting to get tired of just scrolling through Rise courses. What can you do to make your course more exciting? And traditionally, these courses have opened with like a little bit of video, so it does have some motion, but then it becomes a more traditional Rise course. So we took on the challenge of seeing if we could impress them with what Rise could do with Mighty, and we called it Project Razzle Dazzle. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Project Razzle Dazzle. When looking at the courses, we really thought that there were three ways that we could make this more exciting. The first way is to make audio work more naturally. The second way was to really add more movement or motion to the courses. And the third way was to change the visual rhythm, so to change the way that people move through the course. So, what I want to do today is walk you through how we solved some of those problems. And I will tell you that I've chopped up the existing course, so when you see it, it might not make total sense, but hopefully it will make sense as we go through it. So, as I said, the first challenge that we had was how are we going to work with the audio? And if you have ever tried to work with audio in a Rise course, it's a really clunky experience. The first thing that Mighty did to solve this was have an autoplay for audio, which was a game changer, but it still didn't look very good. So I have a picture for you of what a course with audio would have looked like. So here's a course where I input some audio to come in at the beginning of the course. It's auto playing, and then some audio that's coming in the next part of the course, also auto playing. But if you look at it, it's making my visual design look really clunky because you see all of these audio players. So Pinkster worked some magic, and I'm about to show you what he did to make the audio a more seamless experience. What you should know behind the scenes is there are some audio blocks in there, but they're hidden. And I'm going to expect gasps on this one because I couldn't even believe it. So here is our, let me give it to you, the Razzle Dazzle course. It's just our title screen. So let me start the course for you and see what you think.
Moving materials is part of the job. Stacking boxes, repositioning equipment, carrying supplies across the floor. It happens dozens of times a shift, and most lifts feel routine. But that's often when injuries occur. This course covers how to spot risk, protect your body, and match the right equipment to the task. Review the objectives, then select Begin when you're ready.
Okay, so what you probably noticed, look at all the shocked faces coming out. What you probably noticed is this audio bar at the bottom of the course. So it contains everything that the Rise audio panel had, but it now sits at the bottom. It almost looks like it's storyline. I've been joking around and calling this Story Rise. But it gives you this feeling that the audio it looks like a slide, like a storyline slide. So yes, I think the magician will share his magic, but he can talk about this at the end. So that is the first thing that we did with audio. So, I mean, mind blown. But then as we looked at the course, it started to not make sense how the visual design was working with the course because it's like storyline. How much text do you have versus how much do you have in Rise? So we created our first interactive HTML block, and I want to show you this one too. And this was the solution that we had to come up with to start thinking about Rise in a different way with audio. So let me just hit this begin button.
Sam made three mistakes at once. He bent at the waist, twisted while holding the box,
Sorry about the double.
and misjudged its weight. Any mistake by itself might not have caused an injury. Together, they did. His story shows how risk factors stack up.
Sorry about the double audio on that. But what you see here is that we ended up building what in essence is kind of like a storyline slide, right? Where the text is animating in along with the audio. So that was the second trick that we used for the audio. And it's really still a challenge to try to rethink how to design in Rise with this new ability to put audio in there. So that's audio. The second challenge that we had is how do we add more motion to the course so that it feels natural without just having one video at the beginning? So I want to show you some things that we did to do that. And the first one is the things that you've probably seen Kendra particularly use, like having just more GIFs and graphics that are animated. So you'll see that I've got the little continue arrow that's a GIF. And then wherever possible, we added these GIFs to like the illustration of Sam holding the box. Just so you know, I just did that in Canva. It took me about 5 minutes. It was really easy just to get that little bit of extra motion in there. So let's see another example of this. From this point, I can tell you that I did strip the audio out of some of this so that you wouldn't have to hear the audio again and again. But these blocks also have autoplay audio. So you'll just see we just added some lightning bolts here. The box moves here. And I just have this little checklist coming out. So just any place that I could add a little bit of extra motion, it just makes the scene a little bit more dynamic. So in addition to this, I tried to think of ways that I could just have motion going. So at the top of every chapter, I created another interaction. I'm calling this one the marquee scroll. So I just took some icons that are in the bottom of the next course and added them into here at the top of each chapter. So each chapter has this little icon thing. And then at the end of each chapter, we really wanted to have something cinematic, something that captures your attention and summarize the key points. So we built this text reveal that we call the movie theater moment. And this also has audio that I took off, but just big text that animates onto the screen and gives you that sort of summary of what's going to happen next. So this is where we've landed for motion. Now, just to tell you a little bit about rhythm, one of the biggest complaints that this vendor had was the scrolling and just feeling like you're constantly scrolling. So we talked a little bit about how do we make sure that it has a different feel to it. And the first thing that we did is we took advantage of the autocomplete. And that's one of the things that's in the code snippets in the Mighty community that you can do right now, where you can have a block automatically move to the next block. So as I show you this one, you'll see a little video clip and then you'll see it transition right into the next block. And I hope it doesn't double audio on you, I'm sorry, but let's give it a try.
At the brewery, the team puts all 5 steps together. The path is clear. They bend at the knees, lift with their legs, and move out together. Simple, steady, and safe.
So you can see that it automatically moved to the next section without the learner having to proceed, which I think is a nice way for the course to progress and to just give it a little bit more motion. So with that, I had to also start thinking about if you want to take away the scrolling, you have to have more things happen on a horizontal plane. And when you think about the existing Mighty blocks, there aren't really that many. I'd be using the process block again and again and again and again. So we tried to think of ways to have horizontal interactions. And I want to show you two of the things that made me scream out loud and be like, come here, kids, you got to see this. And then be like, yeah, we really don't care. So this is one of them. I'm calling this the stacked scroll. And as I scroll through here, there's like a parallax movement, just a different way to present these. I had originally, when I had this, I had them as a labeled graphic where you'd click each of the items and then the little card would come up. But I just felt like this had a different kind of more exciting movement to it. So this one is called the Parallax Stacked Scroll. And then I made another one. This one is might be my favorite. This was inspired by Kendra, who did, I think you might have seen her video where she had a design where she tried to make these checkerboard blocks where things were coming in on the checkerboard blocks. In the original design, I had this as image and text, but I changed this to become this parallax scroll. I'm calling this the checkerboard scroll. So as you move up and down, things come in and out. So you can see that it's just a different way of having a horizontal scroll. So I want to tell you at this point that I have absolutely no coding. I have absolutely no graphic design skill. I have none of these things. And I want to make that point because sometimes I come to the Mighty Meetups and I think to myself, I will never be able to do that. But I did that. And I did it with Mighty, and I did it with, what did you call it? My AI code companion, my best friend Claude. And I did that I just kept at it. Like I just kept at it. So you can do this. We can help you. I would love to talk about this. I'll talk about it all day long because somebody will be excited with me. The big kicker of all of this is that I did have to work on all these things. And if I want to repeat them, you would imagine that it's going to be a lot of work to make each of these things happen again. So this is like ready for the second mind-blowing experience. Um, Pinkster and Nate took all of these interactions that I made, and I'm going to say these words, and I don't truly understand them, but I do understand the impact of them. They wrapped the interactions in dynamic forms. So I will show you an example of what does that mean. That means that they took it and basically made it into another block that I can just use again and again. So this is the one that is the cinematic scroll. And you can see that they made me this thing where all I have to do is just type in the new content. I don't have to recreate it with Claude, who's my AI companion of choice. I can just take these and replicate them again and again. So my workflow, once I made up these ideas, it's done. Like I just get to use them again and again. So that is like all of my exciting things. This is how we created Razzle Dazzle. And it's all because of Mighty. And it's just so exciting. And I can't wait to see, like, with some of these ideas, what you can do with them. And that's all I have, unless you have questions. I wasn't watching the chat.
Yeah, I love this,
So
Heather.
far,
This is
just love in the chat, Heather, for you.
Oh,
Lots of
good.
love.
Oh, good. All right, I'm gonna make you back the host again too, Maggie.
Thank you. And
Yep.
thank you so much for sharing such a wonderful talk through of everything you've been working on. It was incredible from my perspective. But again, you'll see the chat blowing up with so much love and just interest in everything you've been doing. John, I'll kick it to you to continue from there.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone has any questions. I know Heather mentioned we've got our magic wrapping dynamic forms thing. I did talk about this probably in November of last year, and really we haven't said much about it. So it's awesome to just like continue to start to see that spread out there. We do have plans, and the reason why we've kind of been a little bit more hush about exactly what this means and how to take advantage of it with your interactive block is because we are building a process to make this significantly easier, especially because most of you are not AI or most of you are not developers and you're leveraging AI to do this. It wouldn't be fair for us to give you 1,000 steps to try to figure out how to do it. So very soon, we're going to come out with a process that's going to make building these interactives and wrapping your interactives that you've already built to be dynamic significantly easier, almost too easy. I think Nate converted some of these very complicated things that Heather made in like 5 minutes. So you'll be able to convert your interactives very, very quickly soon. More to come on that. Sorry, that keeps being a little bit of a teaser. uh, don't know if anyone else has any questions in general. Heather, again, thank you for walking through that. I knew you blew a lot of minds. I'm sure, hopefully, you feel the love that your kids didn't let you feel when you shared it with them. But this is super cool. It's super cool to see just being able to take Rise and really flip it on its head and have it have all these different experiences. In regards to some of the functionality of being able to have your audio bars extracted from your course and really just live down in more of like an audio player at the bottom. I believe I did post that out somewhere. I think minimally it's on LinkedIn. It may also be in a post in MC. I thought I put it on YouTube, but I might not have. So I'll have to dig that back out and reshare that with everyone. It's not a secret sauce. You guys can certainly get access to that. And the process is very, very easy. So I'll reshare that. And same with the auto continue buttons. The auto continue button was another code snippet and YouTube video that I've got out there. So we will maybe repost those between this week and next week back up as MC posts just so you guys can get access to that. So again, just join the community. Fun resources, lots of resources there for you guys to get access to, and we'll get another post out there so you guys can have access to that.
Not seeing
Um,
any new questions come in yet, Pinkster. You've answered a bunch, but definitely people will appreciate the reposts. It looks like it was on your LinkedIn at one point.
nice.
But I do know we have a handful of new Mighty members that might love a demo today if there's no more questions.
Yeah. I like to also let people go if you guys don't want to stick around for the demo. Totally understandable. We always do these meetups the fourth Tuesday of every month. So our next one is February 24th. So excited to get you all back there for the next big reveal that we may do. So excited. Thanks for everyone who's gonna leave now. Appreciate your time. At this point, what I would love to do is just really walk through a high level product demo of what Mighty is, just so you guys can get a good look and feel for that. If anyone, for those of you who are new. Um, so hopefully that wasn't too overwhelming. We kind of threw you into the deep end with this crazy fun feature. You're really joining at an exciting time, being able to build courses from the ground up using something like the global styles feature and getting that inspiration from Heather kind of on how she's walked through this course. I will also say that from a resourcing perspective, we've got all sorts of great things. So as soon as you get the Chrome extension, so it's a Chrome extension that you install. Once you've got it installed in Rise, you will see this Mighty Assistant in the bottom right. We've got our Maestro/Mighty community, which I've referenced over and over again. Great resource for anyone, even if not using Mighty, to join. We've got some fun MC challenges that we do just to kind of help push each other's design chops, and open up some thoughts around how to use different tools. So great things that are happening there. Lots of great questions that you could throw out to me. This is a great way to get access to me if you ever want to ask any questions. We also do have that code catalog that I had mentioned. So if you ever want to do something that's not a specific feature in Mighty, just check out the code catalog. There's lots of things in here, including this horrible white space that we all have dealt with for years and years and years. Being able to quickly get rid of that so you don't have this weird white space at the bottom of your courses because of continue buttons. So lots of great insights. We also have our YouTube channel, which you can jump to from our help center. So here's a help center, walks through lots of features, and then our YouTube channel where you can get access to all my goofy thumbnails and fun things that we walk through here. Between our how-tos, we have featured tutorials, and then also in our list of playlists, we have prior Mighty meetups. So if you want to check out what's happened, there's several meetups that are gold. I mean, there's lots of cool stuff that people are working on. So check out those Mighty meetups in the past, as well as we've recreated the Olipop website in Rise using Mighty. So there's just a lot of cool inspiration that you could certainly gather on the YouTube channel. Um, so, like I mentioned, this is a Chrome extension. You install the Chrome extension. It's free for 30 days to try out. Once you're ready to use this thing long term, we do have some subscription plans. You could either go the monthly route or the annual route. It's a whopping 337 a year. So it's super cheap, hopefully very affordable for many of you. Um, Lots of functionality that you're getting as well as this year. It's just gonna probably quadruple in features. So certainly jump on that bandwagon now. Um, the features that I've talked about certainly cover a wide breadth of those, as well as what Heather has covered. We also just kind of at a high level also offer customizations to existing Rise features. So we call those Mighty mods. So Mighty offers these ideas of power ups and there's like overarching changes to your course. And we also have a whole series of blocks that we offer, including this interactive HTML block, which is kind of like an open world canvas, build whatever you want using tools like AI. And we also have other fun blocks like transitions and reflections and image comparison blocks, and lots to come here. And then the last part, which I just briefly mentioned, is that mods. So taking existing Rise blocks and modifying them to really look and feel the way your course should look and feel. So here's an after example of that lesson we were just kind of looking at, where we've dropped in things like, so this is our transition block. So you use a spacer block with a background image, then you can go into our Mighty blocks, drop in a transition, and immediately it just gives you this like cool feel for your images blending and bleeding kind of out of that chunk space into the next chunk space. And same thing can happen with the background colors. So instead of background colors being static, you can use this gradient feature that Mighty offers where you could turn the blend to 0. So it doesn't have this subtle blend, which I'll just turn that on so you can get a feel. So you can blend with a gradient if you wanted to, or just turn the blend off, have that be in the middle, and then have blocks like this kind of bleed outside of sections. So between transition blocks and between background gradients, being able to really do some fun ways to have your content flow better between different sections. Um, you can also do some fun line transitions. Like here's a fun example here where normally you just get that weird thin gray line divider and you can't really change anything about it. So our transition block could also just collapse into a line and you could also do some fun little squiggles. And so the transition block comes with a lot of presets, comes with the full gambit of controls to just like go wild and crazy and build whatever fun thing you want. So like we could convert this thing to be more of a squiggle design. So there's some frequency, there's some roundness. So really being able to kind of play around with the look and feel of little design aspects of your course. You've also probably saw this earlier when we were doing the demo or the walkthrough of global styles that we have our own rich text editor. So being able to update fonts to all sorts of fonts. You don't have to just choose a header or body. Choose whatever font you want. You can go wild with font sizes and line height and letter spacing and get into the nitty gritties of what the code is under the hood to make up this section, to do things like anchored links. You could also get into our color palettes and being able to use recently used colors or now leveraging global styles, color styles. So lots of great things that you can do with the rich text editor. From a block perspective, I had mentioned we've got a reflection block, so you can ask open-ended reflection questions and then let the learner type in reflections along the way. And then at the end, map those to a fun custom PDF that maybe you've generated as an internal organization as like a nice keepsake. And we also have things like a labeled graphic inverse called a reverse hotspot. So show an image, let the learner choose on the image the part that makes a collaborative environment, which is this example here. So everyone needs snacks and coffee, and you need a whiteboard to present on, and that's what makes a great collaborative environment. So these are all just our various different Mighty blocks that exist, and then really kind of gets into our interactive HTML block, which allows you to really kind of build, drop in any sort of interaction. So you can think about it, it's like a storyline component on steroids because not only would you have to like build this thing off to the side and then air quote or import it in, but you don't have to build it in Storyline. You can just literally build it with the power of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, which again, you don't need to know that. You just farm that out to your AI buddy. They'll build whatever it is that you want for you, and it's insane the things that it can build. It's getting better and better. And then you just drop in your zip file. So let me drop in let me think here. Well, here's like a fun little like stats example. So this just shows like a rolling stats of some fun things that we were presenting on at the end of last year, um, of success for 2025. And so maybe you've got some fun things that you want to do. And so again, with our interactive HTML block, more to come on this, but you can actually not only have it build you the code, but also have it still be dynamically flexible inside of your authoring experience. So this is what Heather was alluding to. More to come on exactly how that works here in the near future. So you can think about the interactive HTML block really kind of as like an open world, build anything and everything that you want. So I'm going to show another fun example of a more of a gamified version of an interactive. So I'm going to drop in this puzzle game. So what you're able to do here is this builds out like a puzzle piece based on an image. And then this scenario here was like, I'm going to break up the learning and just like how people kind of go through this. But also, fun twist, you have a leaderboard, so you could like compete against other people on your team, and we will give you knowledge checks along the way. And if you get a knowledge check wrong, you're penalized by 5 seconds. So there's like on all sorts of like fun thoughts and ideas that we've had with blocks that like, okay, let me go and spend 5 weeks building a storyline component to do that. Or I could just collaborate with AI. It'll build me some HTML, then I just plug it right into my Rise course and I'm good to go, ready to move on to kind of the next thing. So lots of fun ways that you can take your content, your ideas, and build out a really cool solution and then just drop it right into your Rise course using this interactive HTML block. So lots of fun things there. Uh, the last thing that I'll show is there is this custom code world, which again is kind of open canvas, build anything and everything. I'd mentioned we've got this code catalog, and what I'm going to do is, because it's kind of a fun gimmicky thing, is drop confetti when a learner moves on to the next section. So I'm going to download these two code snippets. We'll go back into go back into the custom code power up. I'm going to import these two snippets. I'm going to enable them. And then I'm going to go and make sure that I've got a continue button. Let me see if there is one right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach to this code snippet. We're going to go in here. This is for a specific block. I'm going to go and find that continue button. We'll go down here. Right there it is. Select that continue button. Hit save. Go to preview. Now here's my course in preview. As I get down, you'll also see auto playing a video. Heather had mentioned that and kind of showed that off. And then we've got our continue button. I click that and voila, there's confetti, which is always a fun party trick. And then the last thing I'll say is as you're using Mighty in your course, really the only authors in Rise are the only ones who really need Mighty. From there, as soon as you publish your course out to Review 360 or even to your LMS, it's all packaged and bundled right into that zip file. So nobody needs to know your secret sauce on how you're building these magnificent courses. You just tell them that you're awesome and you figured out all sorts of cool ways to do things. And with the power of Mighty, it'll package all that up for you. You just drop it in your LMS and watch people be wowed by the things you did. So that's my
You're getting
spiel.
you're getting lots of love, Pinkster, and excitement for the demo you shared. There was one question that came in from Amelia. Can you customize the background of the exported reflections PDFs?
Yes. And even I say yes as in even better, hopefully. You can actually customize the PDF entirely. So let me so this is the reflection block. We also have a reflection download block. So the idea is like cumulatively, you can ask a bunch of reflection questions along the way and then have those get collected into this block at the end. So think about like 5 lessons, ask a bunch of questions, have a download at the end. Yeah, so what you would do with either block, that option exists, is instead of this auto-generated ugly PDF that we made, which looks like this, what you're able to do is you're able to using like Adobe Acrobat and just build like a custom form fillable PDF template, which this might take me a second. I think I have an example of one of these. Uh, but long story short, you can make an example PDF and drop it in and then map all of your questions to those form fillable inputs, and then it just is your PDF. So yeah, you're totally able to do that. And it's pretty cool. I've seen some fun, powerful PDFs that people have made. Um, I think I might just have like a very basic PDF. Let me just drop in. Let me drop this in. So this is like a certificate. I mean, it's not cool. But what you're able to do is, yeah, totally map these questions out to where they show up. And then what would happen is when I go to download this PDF, it maps it to this custom PDF here. So you can see that I've got, it actually happened to be a certificate of completion PDF, but no big deal. So yeah, you can really build anything and everything that you want for those downloads. Yep.
Think that was all of the questions that came in, other than just lots of excitement, lots of love for everything Mighty's doing.
Awesome. Super exciting. Well, like I mentioned, we'll be back February 24th with lots of fun new things. So
Thank you, everyone. See you next time.
thanks, guys. Bye.